Hello, welcome to episode 9 of Design with Grimes. I am Jordan Grimes. This is a space where I talk about my design projects, perspectives, and my process as well. You can follow me online at Twitter, at J7Grimes, and then also follow me in my work as well on my website, jordangrimes.work. So today's episode is going to be about the Chicago Bears. If you can't tell, huge fan, right? And so the NFL teams released their schedules of who they're going to play, when, times, and all that kind of stuff a couple weeks back. So that's great. What I'm actually interested in is what the Bears and what the opponents in those games are going to be wearing. And so today's episode is going to be about the 2022 uniform schedule, according to me. So you heard it here first. And so I'm going to take one step back and talk about the 2021 season for the Chicago Bears and what alternates they wear. And just a note, teams can only wear, per NFL rules, teams can only wear 3 alternate jerseys throughout the season. And so I'm going to go over how the Bears used those 3 attempts last season. And so they had their 1936 classic white uniforms. They wore that twice. And then also they have their beloved orange uniforms, wore that once. So that's how they used the 3 attempts there. Specifically about how they used the classic uniforms. They used all these alternates at home. So the first one here was against the Minnesota Vikings, so that was a great color matchup happening there. And then the second time was against the Green Bay Packers as well. And so used the 1936 Classic uniform against division rivals, so that's fun. Last one here is about the orange uniform. So NFC opponent, the Arizona Cardinals, they decided to, again, wear that at home against them. Didn't win, but that's all right. Let's fast forward and talk about this year's schedule. Here's the full 2022 schedule for the Bears, where they're going to play and all that kind of stuff. They have a late bye in week 14, but here's the schedule I'm working with in terms of this uniform stuff. So let's actually get into it. So the first thing, just in terms of the uniforms that are possible for the Bears to wear. So on the left, you have the traditional home and away uniforms. And then to the right, you have the alternates that I believe they're going to wear this year. So there has not been any indication that there's going to be new stuff outside of this. But at any rate, you have the orange uniform that we pretty much just talked about, and also the 1936 Classic uniform, which is great. I have a whole episode about that. But so that's great. Let's actually get into the matchups here. So week 1, it's going to be at home against the San Francisco 49ers. So I believe the Bears are going to wear and go traditional Navy uniform at home for the first game. And for the opponent, the San Francisco 49ers, they actually, uniform note, they actually updated their jersey slightly this offseason. So the details here are going to be that they originally had 2 single stroke color stripes on the shoulders. Now they're going to go with 3. And so I believe that's paying homage for previous uniforms for the 49ers. And also the typography on the collar here, the 49ers, they're going with that Western vibe, which I really like. So just 2 really small details that they're going to be doing for their home and away jerseys. And getting to that, I believe that since we're wearing our natural navy home uniforms, the 49ers will wear their away whites and gold pants. So that's the first matchup for week 1. Moving on to week 2, it's going to be a Sunday night game away at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. So with that said, I believe the Bears will be wearing their traditional away uniforms up in Lambeau, and then the Packers are pretty steady for many years, decades, on their uniforms, and so I believe they'll just go traditional home with the green top and yellow pants. And so what better way to check their uniforms out than Aaron Rodgers being sacked? But okay, we're moving on to week 3. Is going to be at home against the Houston Texans. So we're going to go Navy, the traditional home uniforms for the Bears. And then for the Houston Texans, they're pretty steady as well on their uniforms. They either have the away white Navy home, and then they even have a red alternate. I don't think they're going to get into that, especially when they're facing the Bears at home here. So they're going to go with their traditional away white uniforms. Moving on to week 4, it's going to be away at the New York Giants. And so this is the first mix-up, really, in terms of something interesting possibly happening in terms of a uniform matchup here. I think the Bears, they'll just stick with their traditional home navy. But thinking about the New York Giants, they have this alternate throwback that is based off this white-on-white concept. You have the white jersey, white pants, and even the white face mask. And also in terms of the helmet, they have the Giants logo type happening there on the helmet on each side. And so other details with this alternate uniform for them is that they have a red stroke around the blue numerals, and so that's a good detail on their traditional home uniforms. There's no stroke color; it's just the solid numeral color. So I love these throwbacks for the New York Giants, and I think that them coming into Soldier Field, let's get a early fun matchup with this uniform. So that's week 4. Moving on to week 5, got our second division opponent, and it's going to be away again. It's going to be at Minnesota, up in Minneapolis, and so I believe the Bears will wear their 1936 classic uniforms being away. I know that's breaking tradition with what we did last year with only wearing the alternates at home, but I think since the Vikings will be wearing their traditional home uniforms here, they're purple. They're pretty steady as well, like the Packers, since the Vikings updated the uniforms to what they have now. And they're pretty steady on what they use with home and away. And so I think they'll stick with that, being at home. But I think since we're away already, I think we can break out the classic uniforms. And I think it's a really good matchup with the stripes of the Bears and just the tradition of the purple and all that, purple and gold with the Vikings. So excited for this one. We'll see what happens for week 5. Moving into week 6 is going to be a Thursday night game in Chicago against the Washington Commanders. So nothing crazy for the Bears, natural home Navy uniforms. But thinking about the Washington Commanders, they went through a whole rebranding process this offseason. So name, uniforms, through and through, right? I had an episode with Brandon Moore a couple months back, so check out my video list for our reaction and just some notes about their uniform design and just the rebrand in general. But getting to this uniform matchup, I think since the Bears are going Navy, the Washington Commanders will go a white in their away uniform. So they're actually the first team to announce their secondary helmets. They're not going to use it in this game, I don't believe, but the NFL did lift their one shell rule for teams which had teams only use one helmet throughout the whole season. They're lifting that for this upcoming season, and upon the reveal of their new branding, the Washington Commanders revealed their maroon helmet they use here, but also a black helmet. But again, I think they're going to go maroon here. And in terms of the jersey, they got this pattern fade texture effect happening within the numbers and also on the sleeves as well. I could do without it, but again, I have a whole episode about this stuff, and so I think this is going to be the matchup Thursday night against the Commanders. Moving into week 7, it's going to be another primetime game. It's a Monday nighter. We're traveling to New England this time, though. Nothing crazy in terms of the uniform matchup. Going to have a traditional away white uniform happening for the Bears, but the New England Patriots, looking at what they did last year for their uniform setup, they went color over color a lot, and so with them probably wearing their navy at home, I think they'll go navy top, navy bottom for that, and so good uniform matchup happening here. Moving on to week 8 at Dallas, so this is the second alternate I think we could break out. It's again on the road, but who cares? I think this game is being played on October 30th, so right before Halloween, and so I think we might play on that a little bit in terms of wearing our orange alternate uniforms, and I think it'd just be a good look. And so I think the Bears will break that out. But then in terms of Dallas, I just talked about that one shell rule being lifted for teams. Dallas possibly has an option to do this as well with a white helmet. So they could go white on white in terms of the helmet and the uniform there. There hasn't been any leaks or anything around this, but I think with that new rule being lifted, they possibly might get into territory such as this with this example picture happening here. But fun matchup in Dallas right before Halloween. Moving into week 9, you got Chicago versus Miami, so it's going to be at home here. Nothing crazy with the uniform matchup. The Dolphins have a great throwback, but that's a teal throwback, and I don't think they're going to be wearing that away in Soldier Field. And so they'll be wearing their away white uniforms, and the Bears will be wearing their traditional home navy uniforms. Week 10 is going to be another divisional opponent here versus Detroit, so it would be at home. I personally love the Detroit Lions uniforms. They have either their traditional away uniforms, with which you see here, the white over blue. They do have a blue over blue, I believe, and then blue over gray, but also they have a gray alternate as well. I don't think they're going to get into any of that crazy stuff for their bout with the Bears in Soldier Field in Week 10. Bears will go natural navy here, and then away uniforms for the Lions. Week 11 could get interesting. So Week 11 is at Atlanta. So facing the Falcons, the Bears most likely will wear their away uniforms, white over navy. But thinking about the Falcons, a couple years ago they released a update to their uniforms, and so they have a couple different jersey pant combination options, and I think something that they could play with being at home is this gradient of the red to black alternate uniform that they have in their uniform set. They did not wear it, or they have not worn it very much due to it being an alternate. I think they could break it out at home against Chicago. Moving on to Week 12, going to be away again at New York against the New York Jets, and so being away, the Bears will wear their natural away uniforms here. And then thinking about the New York Jets, they'll wear their green over white home uniforms. They could go white as well, but I think they won't for this game. And they also have that being the Jets, they have a black uniform as an option as well. I don't like it. I don't want to see it, so I'm not going to have it presented here for the bout with the Bears in Week 12. All right, Packers round 2 at home this time, Week 13. I think that Bears will go with their navy home uniforms, and then the Packers will go with their white over yellow away uniforms. Looking good, hitting the turf. Week 15, it's going to be versus Philadelphia, so at home again, welcoming the Eagles into town. Bears will go navy home uniforms, and then the Philadelphia Eagles. Word is right now that I don't believe that they're going to introduce a second helmet. Everyone's clamoring for that throwback. I don't think they're going to wear it here. I think it's going to be next season that they bring it back just entirely for that uniform set. So I think they go with a more natural away setup with a white jersey and a dark pants. It could be the green, it could be the black. I know that they sometimes go all black or throw in black features here, but I think they go white top, green bottom for their uniform against the Bears, Week 15. Moving into Week 16, this is right before or after New Year's, I believe. And so I think welcoming in the Bills, it'll be fun to bring on our classic uniforms. It's going to be a home game, so we control the uniform schedule, so to speak. And I think we could break it on here. That'll be fun to kind of bring in that New Year vibe and against a big opponent. Bills, really good team right now. And so with the Bears going white, the Bills will go with their home blue uniforms. Almost at the end here, Week 17, rounding out second to last division opponent here is going to be the Detroit Lions. So we're going to be at Detroit in their stadium, and I think nothing crazy here. We're going to go with our away uniforms for the Bears, and then blue over gray uniforms, their home uniforms for the Detroit Lions. Last game, division opponent at home against the Vikings. We usually play them in Minnesota at the end of the year, but this time it's actually going to be in frigid Chicago at the end of the year. So at this point, if you've been keeping count, we've exhausted the Bears. They've exhausted their alternate uniform use here. And so I think with that said, they'll go nothing crazy with their home Navy uniforms against the Vikings, and they will go with their white away uniforms. So should be a good match with both teams possibly fighting for playoffs or division stuff depending on how the year goes. And so great uniform matchup every year. And so I'm looking forward to the look on the field and the play on the field. That is my 2022 uniform recap, my estimation of how it could shape out for the Bears. Let me move myself here so we can see all this. So this is a week-by-week deal here for what the Bears could do. So I made a fun little graphic for each indicator of if it's going to be home, away, alternate orange, or alternate 1936 classic. So you see how the spread levels out here. And so I was really excited to put this stuff together. take a screenshot, save it, and come back to me on how this actually works out. But I want to say thanks for checking out this latest Design with Grimes episode. If you're a Bears fan, let me know what you think. If you're an opponent or just a football or uniform fan in general, let me know what you think, or what you would have done different, or just your opinion in the comments here. Or check out my work, or me on Twitter. I'm at J7Grimes again on Twitter. Then my website is jordangrimes.work as well, continuing to add work and projects there as well. And so like, subscribe, share with fellow friends and all those types of things. But thanks for checking out this episode. We'll see you next time on Design with Grimes.